Leadership isn't just about titles or authority. It's about influence. Are you the type of leader that inspires others to take action, to grow, and to step into their full potential? In today's episode, we are going to break down key traits of truly inspirational leaders, talk about what sets them apart, and give you a quick self-assessment to determine if you are truly inspiring leadership in others. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Today I get to talk about probably my absolute favorite topic, and we're going to try to get it all in this one episode and condense it down for you. You are not going to want to miss this episode, and you're going to want to stick around till the end because I'm going to give you a quick self-assessment to see if you are truly inspiring others to lead. In this episode, we are going to talk about inspiring others through influence. So ask yourself, are you inspiring others? Start there and be honest with yourself. Share a quick story about one of my great mentors, great leaders that I was able to work with in my career. And I say work with because that's how he would say it. And it was a true honor to have a leader that I felt truly cared about me, my desires, my aspirations, that fed into my strengths, challenged me when I needed to be challenged, and took the time to listen. This is an individual that was leading an organization during a very challenging time. We were undergoing some downsizing. We were undergoing people moving to different organizations. And there was this feeling that we had come under attack. Another organization, you could even probably call it a hostile takeover. And they were digging into records, data that we were very open and forthcoming with, and they began to start using it against us. And so for me, it was kind of that stand up for your own, put a flag in the ground, and we're going to go duke it out. But that's not the approach that he took. He took a very metered, just nonchalant approach to figuring out what exactly the true intent was behind this moving of resources. I can remember there was one thing that he always told me, and he found great success in, is he always assumed positive intent. He went into meetings, he went into conversations, assuming that the person on the other side had your best interest at heart. And he had our best interest at heart. And we're going to knock out some key traits. And this individual had all 5 of these traits. Then I'm going to provide you a quick self-assessment, and you're going to rate yourself. And that's going to identify areas for you to work on, either with a coach, a mentor, go out there and find some podcasts, whatever that looks like, so that you can make sure that you are truly inspiring leadership in others. So let's dig into these traits here. The first one, you all know that I do a lot of journaling. And this morning, when I was writing down the outline for this podcast, I began with this leader that I would go to the end of the earth for. And I said, okay, what characteristics, what traits did they possess? The very first one that came to my mind was authenticity. Authenticity to me is no matter what your title, no matter where you're at in the organization, whether you're working or you're off work, you are that same person. You walk the talk. And for me, there's nothing that attracts me more to a leader than authenticity. When I feel that that leader is truly authentic, they have my best interests, they assume positive intent, that's the icing on the cake. So authenticity. The second one that came to mind is having a clear purpose and a clear vision. And you've heard me talk about leaders that have a moonshot vision. Moonshot vision is something that others, it's so big, first of all, that other people can fit their vision, their big visions, into that moonshot vision. And those of you that know what I'm talking about and have had a leader that has a clear focus, purpose, and vision, and they can say it in plain words. It's not they have to pull it up on their phone or look at their strategic plan to figure out what their purpose is and their vision is for that organization, that team, your family, yourself. They know it because guess what? They believe it in here. That's where clear purpose and clear vision come from. It comes from the heart. When you believe what you're saying, goes back to the authenticity. When you're authentic, people will become inspired to follow you. I can promise that that will occur. So authenticity, having a clear vision and purpose. The third one is empowerment. There were many projects and many things, and we broke it all down, that we needed to accomplish in order to brief executives, in order to communicate to the workforce, work with the managers, whatever that looked like. And he empowered me. He asked my opinion. He didn't state the answer, and he knew the answer, but he always was the most curious person in the room. He would throw a question out and just sit back and listen. Talk about empowering. Try it on sometime. Be the most interested person in the conversation, not the most interesting person. And you will find out a lot. You will make people feel as if they are being heard, and you will empower them to go do things. And here's the kicker. If we made a mistake or we failed, he accepted the blame. If we had a great success and we achieved the result that we expected, he would give all the gratitude to the team. Now talk about an empowering leader. Again, try it on, empower others, be the most interested person in the conversation. The fourth one I want to talk about is this idea of resiliency and positivity. So we discussed resilient leaders and how to become resilient in our lives the last episode. I would encourage you, if you've missed that one, take a listen to it. So I won't talk too much about it, but resiliency comes out of trial and tribulation, and it's that spirit again that we're going to lock arms and we are going to walk through the smoke, because we know on the other side of that smoke there's bigger and better things to come. And it's scary, and we don't want to do it. We want to stay back on this side because this is the safety net that we've created. We're comfortable. We're complacent, dare I say. But over on that other side, through that smoke, that's where the power is. That's where all the riches and the gratitude and the empowerment lie. And he was resilient. He displayed it through his unwavering positivity. And it wasn't a fake positivity. I'm sure you've all been around people who, we can do it, and they don't mean it. They're not sincere. So all of these traits I saw in him, and hopefully you all see it in yourselves, and they're not codependent. They were intertwined together because each one of them possesses certain skills and abilities to achieve. But once you are firing on all cylinders, I can promise you, people will be inspired and you will pass on the leadership traits to them. I've seen it firsthand. I've had the good fortune of being around some really good leaders that have had maybe 3, 4, maybe all 5 of these traits. And I've sat back and I observed, and it has made me the leader that I am today. And I'm not being braggadocious about that. What I want you to take away from this conversation is the experiences to get me to where I am today, and all the experiences that moving forward, I will have the opportunity to be in. These 5 traits, I work on them. And the self-assessment is going to identify maybe a weak area or a blind spot that you have. So we'll talk about that. So stick around. The last one that I want to talk about, and this is going back to really, from a empowerment standpoint, is they led by example. And this is something that I've prided myself on over the last 12 months, is remaining consistent, being true to myself, and therefore being true to others. Because only until we know ourselves, we can flip that camera around and look back as if I'm talking to you right now. That's when we begin to lead by example. We're not saying one thing and doing another. We're not saying that there's not going to be downsizing and then here comes the cuts. We're not saying that the budget is going to increase and it ends up staying the same or it decreases. There are a lot of things that we do on a day-to-day basis, answering questions. I will never put myself in the situation where I answer a question that I don't know the answer to, just because everybody in the room thinks I should know the answer. I'm going to be the first one that speaks up and says, I really don't know. Is there anyone in the room that can speak to that? Talk about empowerment. The first time that you do that in a conference room, the first time you do that with your family, because dad knows everything, right? I'm sorry. There's a lot of things that I don't know and I'm still learning. Throw that question back to the group. Ask your kids, son, daughter, I'm not quite sure on that question. Would you happen to know? What do you know about that? Their eyes will light up, I promise you. And you can do this with anybody. But again, leading by example is one of those key traits to inspiring others to be leaders. So all 5 of those: authenticity, vision and purpose, empowerment, resilience and positivity, and leading by examples are the 5 traits that the self-assessment is going to identify. And so write those down. Number 1, authenticity. Number 2, vision and purpose. Number 3, empowerment. Number 4, resiliency and positivity. And number 5, lead by example. If you're driving, make sure to bookmark this so you can go back and write those down later. Again, I want you to be actively listening to this. That way you take some takeaways and you can begin to work on becoming an inspirational leader. So now let's get into the self-assessment. And again, I want you to write these things down. One of the reasons I ask you to write them down is because there is science behind when we journal things out, it sticks. We found this to be the case in learning new tasks, new skills. We found this to be the case whenever any type of journaling activity that you may do, whether it's in your school, whether it's at work. Try it on. I promise you. I get a lot of people, and I got 3 journals here that is sitting right next to me. And this is just in the media room. I got about another 2. I write things down all the time. And sometimes I'm drawing, mind mapping, arrows here and there. Just trust me on this. Okay, Go Be Great community. It works. I promise. So let's dig into this self-assessment. The first question I want you to ask yourself, and you're going to rate these on a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 being, yeah, I don't do that, to 5 being, yeah, I do that pretty regularly. Okay, and everything in between. So the first question, do people seek your guidance and or mentorship? Are people coming to you asking for guidance? Are people coming to you asking for your mentorship? Scale of 1 to 5. Number 2, do you encourage growth and confidence in others? So how do you display that? And I would even if you do a 5, I want you to write down how you currently display that, how you currently encourage growth and confidence in others. If it's a 1, that's okay too. And if you're in between, that's all right. We're going to get to the end and I'm going to challenge you. So number 2, that was 2. Number 3, do you lead with integrity even when nobody's looking? Okay, 1 to 5. Number 4, are you clear about your vision and values? So can you, not looking at a poster or not going back to your journal, but can you clearly articulate your vision for your team, your family, yourself, your company, whatever that looks like for you? Can you clearly state that? And is it big enough? Is it a moonshot vision so people can fit their vision in if you are leading a company, if you are leading a team? And then number 5, do you celebrate others' success as much as your own? I'll be honest here. Do you celebrate others' success as much as your own? 1, you don't. 5, you do it regularly. Okay, so those are the 5 questions. Each one of those 5 questions link back to one of the key inspirational traits that we talked about that I feel a leader has. So the first one, do you seek guidance and mentorship? I would relate that back to authenticity. The second question, do you encourage growth and confidence in others? That's empowerment. The third one, do you lead with integrity, even when nobody is looking? Do you lead by example? Are you clear about your vision and mission? So that leads back to the vision and purpose that we talked about. And do you celebrate others as much as you celebrate yourself? That's that resiliency and that positivity. So each one of those questions link back to one of those traits. So if you've rated yourself on the low end in any one of those 5 areas, I want you this week, write it down, put it on your mirror, put a sticky note on your computer, whatever you need to do. I want you to go watch a podcast. I want you to get on Audible, put that in as a search query, see what books it pops up, whatever it needs, go ask for some mentorship. If you have a mentor, if you have a coach, identify that as an area that you want to work on or that you want to talk about at your next meeting or your next session. If you're a student listening to this, find a faculty member, ask them, how can I work on this? I've observed it. A great way, I'll tell you a great way to approach this. A great way to do this is, Professor, Mr., Mrs. So-and-so, I've observed you being truly authentic in every interaction that I have seen or I've experienced with you. Can you teach me? How do you do that? How did you come about being able to display authenticity? Even when the times get tough, you would be surprised. They're going to bend over backwards to answer any question that you possibly can. So find one of these 5 that you rated low, and maybe you don't have any low. Find the lowest one, or find one that now after listening to this podcast that you've decided, you know what? I do need to create a clear vision and purpose for whatever it is that you're leading. Or it could be, yeah, I'm a little lacking in celebrating others. How can I become better at that? This is all for you. There's no right or wrong answer. Be vulnerable. Be authentic to yourself. That way you can work on one of these inspirational traits. So that way the next time when you go back through this assessment, you may be all 5. I went through this assessment myself and I'm still not all 5 in areas. There are things that I want to work on, that I inspire on, and that I work with my mentors and my coaches and ask them, do you see that in me? And then sit back and listen. Promise it'll work. So here we go, Go Be Great community. I'm going to challenge you this week or the next 7 days, whenever you're listening to this podcast, I want you to find one person to empower. Doesn't matter who they are. You can be a work colleague. It can be a family member. It can be a complete stranger. Go find one person, empower them. It will change your life. I can promise. Thank you all for listening to me today. I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. Bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great.